find an Instagram reel and it'll be like, I fix my back pain with this one exercise.
Mm-hmm.
No, you didn't. Like, no, you did not. Because if that were the case, everyone in the world would be doing that one exercise.
Hi, I'm Lydia Thompson, and I am the host of Counselor Off the Clock. This episode, we have my good friend, Anne-Marie Wilson, who is a physical therapist. We talk about the connection between mind and body. We talk about preventative care, defining your why, and how to start small in taking care of your physical health. If you are loving this podcast, subscribe. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Counselor Off the Clock. I hope you can get comfortable because we are off the clock.
Well, welcome, Anne-Marie.
Hello.
Yay. I'm so glad that you're here.
I know. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh. I heard this is your first time being on a podcast.
It is. And I was like so worried that the voice, hearing myself back, was going to be like cringe. Do we use cringe? Is that still a word? I think it's still a word. I don't know. Don't worry. After this comes out, my high school athletes, they will tell me.
They will tell you.
Yeah.
Even saying the word cringe is cringe.
Probably. Unfortunately. I'm not cool anymore. It's fine.
Yeah. I am honored to have you on the podcast, and you're my first non-counselor on the podcast.
Yes.
But as I say to my clients, physical health is health, mental health is health. And so we have so much overlap. So I actually would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Yeah.
Your business?
Perfect. Yes. I am Dr. Anne-Marie Wilson.
Doctor.
Oh, no, sounds so fancy. I am a physical therapist. I am a co-owner I'm a co-owner of Performance Therapy Institute in Nolensville. We do outpatient orthopedic physical therapy. Big portion of our client base is athletes, whether that's like the weekend warrior, CrossFit, Orange Theory, Burn, Title, all that kind of stuff. See a ton of high school athletes. And then personally for me, I love the performance category. I got a little performance in me. So I see a ton of dancers. I've got a dance certification. So that's my niche. That's what I love to treat. So
What is a dance certification? Like, do you have to have something specific to treat dancers?
Not necessarily, but it just makes me... I have a little more in-depth experience and education on because yes, an ankle sprain is an ankle sprain, but to get you back to the things that are important to you, knowing the difference between like a plie and a leap and a turn and an aerial, like you need to know those things. Whereas the generic physical therapist, like a generalized PT would not know necessarily the difference. So I just have their lingo, and I know what it takes to get back to, doing a back handspring and tumbling and all that fun stuff.
That's like a new level of athleticism is
Yes.
like dancers and gymnasts.
Mm-hmm. It's
Wow.
crazy. And it's funny because a lot of times like they're noodles. They are so flexible, right? But they need this, they crave the stability. Like their body is like, I need to be stronger because they are super strong, but they got to be able to stabilize those joints so they're not, all over the place, weeble wobbling.
Weeble wobble.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that weeble wobble.
I know, because we don't want them to fall down.
Yeah. Wow. That would be embarrassing.
That would be embarrassing for sure.
So Anne-Marie and I are not really colleagues. We are actually friends.
I love that.
Like, we don't work together in any capacity. I respect you as a professional, but we do not work in any capacity together as colleagues. So maybe you might, listeners, sense a little bit of a tone because we know each other. We met in 2021.
I think so. Yeah.
2021. We were coming off of the pandemic. And I got on Bumble BFF.
Oh, yeah.
And Anne-Marie was the one and only person I met off of that app.
Wow, I feel extra honored now. Or you're like the only one that I felt like I could keep.
Yeah, I don't know what came over me, but I was like, hey, I gotta give this a try.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's worked out for me.
Oh,
It's worked out for me.
I feel the same.
This episode sponsored by
Yeah.
Bumble BFF. Not really. So,
I know we met and it was like love at first sight.
honestly.
We also, well, my hair's not curly right now, but we like bonded immediately over the Tennessee humidity and our curly hair. So
Yes.
we also both have like theater backgrounds, and you know, we just give off the performance vibe. We're so extra. And I love that about
Exactly.
us.
I
so
do.
much.
I love that about us.
Yeah, we just have a lot of fun. It's
Yeah,
good.
so we've gone to shows together at TPAC.
Yeah.
We went to the the Broadway rave together.
Oh, that was fun.
That was so fun. What an interesting experience.
It was an interesting experience. I would definitely do it again. Maybe a different DJ, but like that was fun. Just scream singing what I usually just drive to work with.
I agree. Like that's what I relax listening to is Broadway show tunes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any and everything's Broadway. I just love it.
Oh, you like theater? You know when you're like getting to know somebody and you're like, let me show you like a tiny bit of my weirdness. It's like theater. Yeah, like we like theater. You know, true crime. And it was like, okay, I'm like super into true crime. Yeah.
Yes.
And then I found out that your parents were in the circus, and I was like, okay, it's over. It's
Yes.
over. Like,
yeah.
we have to be friends. Like, it's over.
Yeah. My parents are retired professional magicians, which is weird and cool all at the same time. You can be both. And I think that's where I get my like dramatic flares from them. And I loved it. And I think that's how I ended up like with the whole dance PT world too, is just, you know, those are my people. They like a spotlight, and you know, I like a little bit of a spotlight too.
Yeah. And we're on this podcast today.
Yeah.
The spotlight is in your face.
Yeah, it is definitely there.
Yeah. And then I think even the first time we hung out, we like grabbed a beer or something, and then you were like, hey, I'm hanging out with another friend tonight. You want to come over?
Oh, that's right.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
We're moving fast. Things are
It
moving
was like
fast.
dating. It
Yes.
was like, oh my gosh, she wants to hang out with me.
Yeah, that's right. Oh my
Like-
gosh. Was that the night of that like flood?
No, maybe.
Or that was another.
I think
Either
it was
way,
another night.
Because I found out that you were, well, before I say this, you were way more of a game aficionado than myself. But I thought at the time that I loved like a game night. Lydia is the game night master. Like there is no one has that title. That is all Lydia. But I thought that I was a good game night person. So I was like, oh yeah, do you like games? At that point, that was where you were muting yourself, where you're like, I've been known to play a few games.
I could play games. I didn't want to show you my full weirdness yet.
Oh, and then we saw it. And I love it even more. I love it even more. We love a good game night. It's good.
Oh my gosh. But I think it is really hard to make adult friends, and you're one of my like adult friends.
Yeah,
Like we didn't meet in college.
Yeah.
We didn't meet in high school.
absolutely. And I think that's so originally going back to Bumble BFF. So I moved
Yeah.
here in 2020, right before the pandemic. Got a job. It was awesome. Loved it. I moved from North Carolina to Tennessee, so I really didn't know anybody but my coworkers. But I was so excited to like get out and meet people, and then bam, we're all stuck at home. And I was like, oh, okay. So I knew my husband, obviously, and I knew my coworkers, but even then, we had shortened our hours, so I wasn't like in with them all the time. So I'm like, okay, what? And I'm a very social being, if you
Yeah.
haven't picked up on that already. I'm very extroverted. So me staying at home was like, oh no, it was not good. It was a scary sight. In college, it was like the number of friends you had, and now it's like, I don't care about the number, I care about the quality.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I really am way more selective about who I bring into my life because I'm a busy person.
Yeah.
And so investing in those people that are going to be sticking around long term, who are investing in me as much as I'm investing in them. And I mean, it's helpful to like some of the same things.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit different now becoming a mom. And now I have like mom friends. Like, it was hard making friends. It is a little bit easier now that we can just talk about babies. But then there still becomes that disconnection of, like, if we only talk about our children, how do we become friends?
Yeah.
And it is kind of that, like, I have to show a little bit of my weirdness. And be
Let
like,
it shine, girl.
I
Let
know.
it shine.
Woohoo. I just show a little bit of my weirdness or like take a leap. And sometimes it feels very vulnerable trying to make friends as an adult because you're still putting yourself out there. There are no convenient friendships for me.
Right. Yeah.
Like every friendship I have to go out of my way to hang out with them and make space for them in my life. And that's a huge difference between this period of my life and like, I don't know, college and like after college.
Yeah.
You know, I just like had a lot of people around me.
Well, it's like, oh, I'm in biology with you. We have that in common. Like, I don't know how much of a like long-term friendship, but it's just enough to get the ball rolling. Like, it's hard as an adult to be like, oh, I notice you're looking at the same peaches that I am also looking at the grocery store. We must be compatible as friends. Like, so it's like finding your community is so hard. I will say, like, I am a huge advocate for physical activity and like group therapy and group exercise classes. I'm a Orange Theory coach, and I love that community so much because yes, we do have one thing in common, right? We've got the physical activity, but there's always a why behind the reason that they're going to the gym. Like, you know, it's not just, oh, I want to lose weight. Oh, I want to stay in shape. It's like, okay, why do you want to stay in shape? Well, I'm going on a cruise to Greece in May and I want to be able to walk up all those stairs with my family. I want to be able to play with my kids in the backyard. And so that's where you really get like the meat and potatoes of why you have those relationships, is because you all have a common goal. Even if they're different, the goal is to have more life, more excitement, more things to do, that you want to be a good role model for your kids or your family or your sister or brother, whatever, you know.
Yeah. So for you, it's been around physical activity that it's been easier to make friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I think that's something that I'm very passionate about. That's why I got into the work that I do. So a little bit of background. So I've got a bachelor's in exercise science and then in public health as well. And I use those two because exercise science obviously went into physical therapy, use all of that stuff. But I was so passionate about the public health piece because that is all about education and making people understand the importance, because we're so inundated with information. If it's a 6-second video, a 30-second video, a 2-minute, you know, like there's so much information, whether it's good or bad information, you know, that's depending on what you're watching, right? But at the end of the day, there are some people that have no access to that information.
Yeah.
And that, you know, to us, I would be like, oh, I'm not going to go eat at McDonald's because I know that's not healthy for me. For somebody that cannot afford to go anywhere else, but they can feed their family on this low quality food, they're going to choose that. But there may be another option, but they don't have the education to have that. So just, you know, getting out there. I know with our practice, that's something that's really important, is the getting into the community. I would rather, you know, see less, make less money, do all of that just so that the community grows and improves. Like, that is really what I'm passionate about, is getting the information out there. So I know we do monthly workshops around different gyms. And, you know, we'll talk to them. Like, what do you want to know about? We just did a mobility workshop because, you know, some people are like, oh, you know, I'm noticing my hamstrings are tight. What does that mean? Like, I can't do a squat anymore. Right. And at the end of the day, you're looking at these exercises, you're like, okay, I can do a squat, I can do this, I can do that. What does that matter? It matters a lot, because when you translate functional movement into your life, that's the difference between picking up your kid from the ground.
Yeah.
That is the thing, like, hey, I want to walk up the stairs to go see my daughter's new house, which I just got a house and my parents came and visited. And like, my mom, she had to get up the stairs and
Right.
she wanted to see everything. And it's something that people, I think, take for granted a lot, is like my husband's grandfather right now, he's got one of those chairs that you just push and it picks you up and you go down. And I'm like, that's great for you at home, but what happens when you want to go out to eat with your family for somebody's birthday? Well, now he can't stand up, right? So it is important. Exercise is important, but the reasoning and the why behind it is more important.
Yeah. And so having the quality of life that people want requires sometimes training certain muscles or strengthening themselves. And it sounds like that's what you do, is support people's functioning in their life, so that they can do the things that they want to do and be free to do them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I just do appreciate you being out in the community, and it's something I'm really it's important to me as well, because there is a lot of content out there, like you said. And I'll speak from personal experience. Okay, when you say mobility, right? I'm like, I probably should do mobility. There are thousands and thousands of posts and blog posts and whatever about mobility. Where would I start?
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then we're inundated with so much information, especially about mental health. Where do we even start? And so sometimes making an appointment with someone like you or me can help guide some people with all of this information to know, how do I apply this to my own life that makes my life better?
Absolutely.
And not just following some like fit guy on Instagram and following his workout plan.
Yeah. I know my partner and I were literally having this conversation today of how you can get on there and say, find an Instagram reel and it'll be like, I fix my back pain with this one exercise. No, you didn't. Like, no, you did not. Because if that were the case, everyone in the world would be doing that one exercise. It doesn't work like that. There are so many nuances, and someone that is, has a deeper background and a deeper knowledge set of that can guide you so much quicker than you stumbling. Like, it's a lot easier to get upstairs when there's a rail to hold on to, especially if you're a little off keel there. So it's easier when there's someone to help you up. But at the same time, you have to make that decision for yourself too. And I think that's where, a big part of this is, there's no reason to wait and wait and wait for it to get so bad that it impacts every aspect of your life, where you cannot function every day. Because, for me, I have an ankle injury, right? For you, it's like, I can't wake up in the morning and I can't process because my mind is so clouded.
Right.
So we are definitely, we're the
I
therapies,
know.
right?
I'm listening to you going, this is the same process that I talk to people about. Like, don't let it get so bad that you can't function anymore. You don't need to ignore those small signs.
Yeah.
Like, get in here and let's make some tweaks while we still have your quality of life.
Right. And for me, if it's a chronic injury, right, if it's been a long time, it's a lot harder and it's going to take longer to get back from that. If you would have just started early on. I always come back to ankles because A, I love treating ankles, but B, like, ankle sprains. That's in some rap song somewhere where it's like, a sprained ankle ain't nothing to play with. Like, it really isn't.
Oh
You just, if you get in and work on it, strengthen it, then, months down the line, you're not going to be dealing with, oh my gosh, now I'm having knee pain. Now I'm having hip pain. And it's all because you didn't fix that ankle the first time. You just let it fester. You let it get worse. You let it get worse. And then, just like for you guys, you're sitting there. It was something very small. And now that balloon has gotten bigger and bigger, and it's just about to pop. And it's like, wow, we could
Yeah.
have dealt with this.
And then I'm getting the call going, SOS, SOS, my
Yeah.
house is on fire. You know, we've talked about this on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like, that's the call sometimes we get. And we can definitely help you at that stage. But what if you would have called when we had the smaller issue? So
Yes.
can you speak to that? How would someone know, you know, I need to get in with someone. I may have a small thing. How would they know it's not too small?
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, in the state of Tennessee, we have direct access. So you can always, well, depending on your insurance, which, you know, we love insurance.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, depending on your insurance, most people can come and see a provider direct access. They don't need a referral from a doctor. They can come right in and say, hey, let's chat through this. A lot of places like my company, we look and we can do free injury screens to be like, hey, is this something that you really need to talk about? Or is this something that we may need to manage on your own? Or just, you know, do we need to get imaging? That's my number one question. Do I need an image? Most of the time, it's a very expensive picture.
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually give the full picture because we are people of movement. We, you know, the picture is just that. It's a time and space. Like that's it. It doesn't actually show the full picture. You're not going through the movement that actually hurts. But when I'm sitting there evaluating you, we're going through those motions. We're testing your strength. We're testing your range of motion. I get to see every aspect of how the muscles responding, how the joints responding, that kind of thing. So, you know, having a free injury screen is always helpful, but you've also got to be prepared for that answer that, yeah, you may need to come in for an actual appointment. This might need to be turned into a full evaluation and not just a quick little screen. And I think that's important too, is that people in our current society, for better, for worse, we are I need it now type of people. And that's how, you know, we've gotten so used to, there's a pill for that. Take a chill pill, take a this, right? And it's like, yes, that seems so easy, but is that just putting a Band-Aid over the issue and we're moving on? There's so many side effects with that. You know, there's so many extra things that come with that.
Especially when it comes to managing pain.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
There are a lot of options, but now we're seeing an epidemic of overuse of pain medication. And we understand why somebody would take a quicker fix, because going to PT sounds expensive. It sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of time.
Time
is always, you know, the number one factor. But, you know, coming back to that, if you're going to set a routine, and that's my like public health brain is like, I don't want to see you as a patient, right? I want to educate you before you even have to come see me for something.
Got it.
I want to help you achieve your goals safely. And that's where those workshops come in, where I'm like, hey, if you do have an issue, then you know who I am. Of course, come see me. But I want you to change your habits now before it becomes a problem, right? So I want you to go get ready, go to the gym, 5-10 minutes, walk on the treadmill, right? Bring it on slowly. You don't have to go from 0 to, oh, I'm in the gym 2 hours a day, right? That's not realistic. You know, when people say they don't have time, you make time for the things that are important in your life, and you make things
Preach.
You make time for the things that are a priority.
Yeah.
And that's where that disconnect, I think, is, where, you know, your priority is your family. Well, you got to do stuff to work on you to maintain them as that priority.
Yeah. So if people are evaluating their life and they're evaluating their priorities, physical health can inform a lot of their freedom to do things for the long term or even in the short term.
Yeah.
And so for you, before people even get into your office, they could start small. Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you speak to that, starting small?
Yeah.
What that might feel like, and giving an encouragement to people if they wanted to start somewhere with their physical health?
It's scary. I mean, change is scary. Any type of routine, like, you know, once you're in a routine, you feel comfortable. It's like a blankie, You know, you're feeling good about it. You do the same thing every day. So change is scary. And that's the number one thing I would say is to be aware, like, yeah, everybody starts somewhere. I started somewhere. I was not as crazy active as I am now, but I fell completely in love with it. But I had to find the right fit for me. And I mean, I can tell you, I tried the gym by myself, and I'm a very competitive person. So there's something about a group atmosphere where it's like, I'm going to push you a little harder.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just love being with other people. Not everybody's like that. You know, some people are like, I need to go just run by myself. I need that time, that clarity to be away from other people. And that's completely fine. One of the hard parts is finding that, you know, finding what is your tribe, whether that's even a solo situation, you know. But I would say, you know, carving out 5 minutes, carving out 10 minutes, that would be the very first thing to do. A lot of times.
That sounds so easy, Anne-Marie.
I know. Just do it. Just do it, right? That's my favorite. You just wake up happy. Just choose happy. Just wake up and be happy. Like, come on.
So, Anne-Marie, that sounds so easy to make just a small swap, 5 minutes. But as we both know, that 5 minutes is actually really tough.
Yes.
So, can you speak to that? The people that are like, you know, it sounds dumb, but I can't do the 5 minutes. You know, how can they support themselves in doing that?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, one of the things I tell my patients very frequently is you can carve out the time to see me, right? Because there's a social aspect to it. There is a, you know, I'm going somewhere to get better. And to be completely honest, it's a way for them to tell their friends, I'm not available during this time. I have an appointment. Okay. You don't have to have an appointment with a healthcare provider. You can have an appointment with yourself. And I very often will say, go onto your work calendar. And, you know, when we switch from seeing me from 2 times a week to 1 time a week, I say, keep that little piece of your schedule, keep it blocked out.
Yeah.
You have your PT appointment. That PT appointment is with you, not with me, right? But it just gives you the, you know, the ability to say, hey, it's okay to spend time on myself.
Yeah.
And just, you know, overcoming that mental block of, oh, I've got this, and this, making it a priority. And again, sitting down and talking about what's your why? Why are you doing this?
You read my mind. That's exactly what I was going to say. Establish your why. And why go to therapy? Why go to PT? Why exercise? Why do anything except for scroll? Right? Why not just sit and watch Netflix and scroll and like just stay in my comfort zone? Because that's partly what we're talking about is why go outside of my comfort zone?
Absolutely.
Why do it?
Yeah.
I think you have to have a very clear why, or else 5 minutes is a mountain.
I agree completely.
Yeah. And I think the whys can be small or the whys can be big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for you, what is your why?
Oh, that's such a good question. You know, I'm trying to think like what was my original why? And I don't know what it was, but at this point in my life, my why is my patients. And I know that sounds crazy, but it really is like, I want to, when I go into a room, I used to work in the hospital, perfect example. I would always have these 50-year-old guys and they're like, you're not getting me up. I'm like, oh, you bet your butt I'm getting you up. Like, this girl is strong, right? Yeah. And I want to be a role model for my patients. I want to be like, I can do this, so can you. I started somewhere, you can too, right? And I feel like the same thing when I'm coaching as well. You know, we all have goals. Whether your goal is to run a 12-minute mile, while my goal is to run a 6-minute mile, we still started somewhere together, right?
And so you still have your whys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, whether that's going to run a 5K faster, that's great. But the reason I'm training is because I want to have a long life. I love to travel. I want to be with my family as long as I can.
Yeah.
And I want to have, really good communication with the people around me about physical activity.
Yeah. Yeah. Like your life actually is the, example almost. Like you're setting an example. I think a lot about that when I really would like to choose bad coping mechanisms. Man, that question of what would I tell my clients?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I should choose that.
Yes.
Now, do sometimes I choose the thing that's not ideal? Totally.
Absolutely.
But dealing with stress or taking care of myself, I am the example.
Yeah.
And I can sit here and go, I did something, you can too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't actually say that because I don't think that would be super appropriate. But I think it is kind of I'm in it with you and I know how hard it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know when I give advice, man, it's easy to sit. I sit literally in this chair and I can tell people, hey, try this.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to tell people to do something, but to actually do it and apply it is hard. And so walking that balance with people of, I know 5 minutes is hard. I know calling a therapist is hard. I know writing in a journal is hard. I know going for a walk is hard, right? I know these things are really hard, and I'm still going to ask you to do it.
Absolutely. It's funny because I'll show my patients how to do an exercise or whatever, and they're like, oh, you're so good at it. And I'm like, well, I only had to do 3 repetitions, right? I didn't, when I'm sitting here, just like you in the chair being like, oh, you just need to do it. I don't have to show you every single thing. However, I am doing those things outside of my practice because I do care and I do want to be able to, if you need to sit down, believe me, I got high school athletes galore and they're like, oh, show me, do it. And I'm like, all right, we'll hold this plank together. We'll go run this together. I'm in it with you, just like you said. And I want you to feel supported that whole way. So even if it's that carving that 5 minutes out, I want you to be like, I have somebody that believes in me, right? I have somebody that cares about me. And, I was talking to you earlier about how my patients, they'll say, it's like going to the hairdresser and I feel like I'm just pouring my guts out. And it's like, why am I doing that? And it's because you feel comfortable and you feel safe in this space. And I want you to get to a point where you feel safe by yourself, but you have somebody that helped get you to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing how much of an overlap that our 2 jobs actually have.
Yeah.
Because I actually, whether you know this or not, I ask so many questions about physical health to assess for how healthy is this individual. Because I can give you, we can do CBT all day, right? We can work on your thought life all day. We can work on your emotions all day. If you're not sleeping, you're not eating, you're not going outside, you're not getting any physical activity, your friendships, I have to assess for all of that because none of this is going to stick, right? Your anxiety is actually going to be exactly the same if we can't actually support that within your life. And that is assessing for physical and mental health. Absolutely.
I mean, any injury too that's one of the things that I also screen for. I talk about what's your sleep habits like. Right? How are you feeling? Right? And not just I'm feeling good, right? It's I really want to know, how are you? Is there something very stressful in your life? Are you dealing with a death in the family? Because all of those affect healing times. Because this is the golden question. How long is this going to take?
Ooh, I get that question too.
Oh yeah.
How long is this going to take? And what you're saying is stress, and so many even emotional things can affect the healing time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if people want to get healthy as soon as possible, how could they support themselves in healing? I mean, that could be physical or mental, but you're speaking from the physical side. What would be an ideal mindset for you that can really support healing?
Well, I mean, I think somebody that's open to it. right? That understands the time that it's going to take, the effort that it's going to take, making it a priority. Because again, consistency, that's the magic term, right? Consistency. If you do every single day, just a little bit, right? Just a little bit, you're going to get better. You're going to get stronger. You're going to get healthier. You're going to get, like all this stuff. But if you're like, hey, I'll see you the same time next week and don't do anything in between, your heart is never going to get stronger, right? Your muscles are never going to get bigger. You're never going to be able to run that race or go up those stairs without breathing heavy because it takes a little bit at a time to chip away at it.
Yeah. So for you, like how to support healing is, making the space and dedication to healing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I say that too is twins.
So fun.
Making the space that outside of this therapy room, you're making space for healing.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that I feel as though you're going to be like, OMG, same, is that healing is not a straight line, right? It's not start at the bottom, end at the top.
Yeah.
It is not one straight line, right? You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. You're going to have days that you wanted to get to the gym or you are going to do your home exercise program and you got a flat tire, right? And those are days that you just have to accept. And then we move on and then we get right back on track. We don't have to have every day go perfect. You don't have to have 0 out of 10 paint every single day. There's going to be days, hey, I increased your exercises. I'm a little more sore than I normally would be, but guess what? By this time next week, that is going to feel like nothing to you. So there's those little divots of, going up 2 stairs, down 1, up 2, down 1. And that can feel frustrating while you're in it. But you got to look at the long term, that finish line of like, what do I really want to get out of this? And how am I going to be a better person on the other side of it, both mental and physical?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Yes, twinsies. Oh my gosh. It's like the same thing. This is like truly why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because so much of the processes that you use and the things you think about and the things you screen for, it's the same.
Absolutely.
So I think, speaking just from my own experience and just to like share my own vulnerability here, I think, so I run my own business. I'm a podcast host. I'm a mom. I'm a counselor. And often one of the first things to go is my physical health. Like I had to have like a come to Jesus moment, right? Where I was like, you've skipped meals.
Oh, yeah.
You haven't been outside, because
what is sunshine?
I'm in the grind, right? There's so much taking over my entire life, right? I'm a busy person, and add like a baby in on top of that, for me, I've neglected my physical health. Now that I have to like readjust, okay? And so for people like that like, can you speak to even me directly of people who are so busy and start to neglect their physical health?
And like, oh yeah, you're also a wife and a friend.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to like have a life.
It's like how many hats can you, wear, but also, without looking like Cat in the Hat, like, you're trying to balance all of these things.
You said you didn't listen to the last episode, but I guess it was the life balance episode. We literally said the Cat in the Hat hats.
Yeah, well, that maybe that's why it's stuck in my brain. That's why I heard it. That could have been it. But it's so hard to just keep all the plates up in the air, all at one time. And I totally get that. So, if you're looking for a place to start, and you're like, I know I need to do this because this is where I see so many times, and this is where I am at fault all the time. I feel guilty. I have that feeling of I'm doing so much, and I know that I'm overwhelmed and the pot is boiling over, but I need to get my workout in. I feel like I'm not doing what I need to do for myself because you are filling all these requests for all these other people. And then it's like, oh, I didn't leave any time for myself. Like I don't have any of that for me. And, that obviously is a priority because you can't fill other people's cups when yours is empty. That phrase.
Yeah.
But what I would say to you is take those people along with you, right? I know that's easier said than done a lot of times, especially with a little kiddo, but go for a walk with your kiddo. Put them in a stroller, right? You go to the zoo a lot.
I do go to the zoo a lot.
And that's great. That gets you out. That gets you in the sun. That gets you outside. It's personal time with your kiddo, with your husband. You get fun times, and just go for a walk with them in the stroller. That's getting in your 30-minute walk. Your kid is having a great time. You're out in the world. You're having a connection with your husband. You get those personal touches every now and then. Not everybody has to be like Anna Wintour and wake up at like 4 a.m. and, walk on a treadmill while you're answering phone calls, right? Yeah. But one of my big things that I talk to patients all the time is I can't get my exercise program in. You gave me 3 exercises. It's too much. 3 exercises is not going to heal you, right? We're going to have to progress those. But when I have somebody that's working on balance, first thing I say is, do you ever microwave anything? Right? And they always go, oh yeah, of course. Like, that's quick. It's, it's speedy. Yeah. Okay. So in that 30 seconds that microwave is going, pick a leg up. That's your balance training, right? You're standing there, single leg stance. You got your counter right there just in case. That's a good way. Just incorporating those things into your life, right? Every single time you go to use the toilet, that is a sit to stand. That's a squat, right? It is, So it's like and it comes back to the idea of all of these things are not just exercise. They're functional movements. Well, if they're so functional, let's put them into your life. So that's where I would say, for people like you and you, is to start incorporating the small stuff. As fires get put out, and there will always be another fire, right? There's never going to come a time where you're like, oh my gosh, I have all the time in the world to do every single thing I want to do just for me.
Listen, that is what I have in my mind. I'm like, great. Like, I can't wait to clear all this stuff up so I can, go do my workouts and like take the 2-hour time for myself.
Yeah, go get that massage.
Oh
Go get
my God. Yeah.
Right? And there's always going to be something else added onto your plate. Yeah. It's just how you manage those things. Now, granted, hopefully there are times where you're going to have a little bit of a lull in your, what all of the fires that you're putting out or all the teacups that you're trying to fill. There's going to be a lull. And that's the time where you start to work into your schedule. Okay, well, I take a 30-minute lunch break. I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to walk for 10 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. I'm going to go outside and enjoy that. Or even if it's eating lunch outside, killing those 2 birds with 1 stone. Yes, it's multitasking, but it's a way to incorporate those things into your life.
Yeah. I think it's silly. It's silly to say out loud. But I hit this all the time with my clients of, if you only do 5 minutes, that is enough. Sometimes that's all you have. It's standing on 1 leg while the microwave is going. It's doing deep breathing while you're brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
It's those small moments of rewiring your brain and having functional movement and having mental health be incorporated into your life. That's enough.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be everything that, maybe even social media tells you it should be. You don't need to sit and meditate for 45 minutes. You don't always need to be at the gym for 2 hours for it to be enough.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the trap that a lot of people, including myself, fall into. Like, what's the point? What's the point of stretching? What's the point of breathing? What's the point for if I can only do it for a minute?
Yeah. And it all comes back, to that why. Because that minute starts to add up. Right. And that's what improves. Things don't improve. They don't go from, you didn't build this business. I didn't build this business in 1 day. Right. I didn't sit down and I was like, I'm going to work really, really hard for 1 day. No, I worked really, really hard, but I was having a whole nother life while I was building a business, just like you. You know, we didn't put our whole lives on pause and was like, all right, we got bills to pay, but I'm just going to wait until this business is done, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I was working on it.
Yeah.
15
I'll
minutes,
fix my knee
30 minutes.
problems when, you know, I have the time to dedicate to it.
Right.
You know, it's like, dedicate some time now.
Yeah, exactly. Your body will pause you. You know, it will tell you, guess what? We don't have time for you to put this off anymore.
Yeah.
The time is now.
Yeah. The time is now. The time is now.
I know this feels very Les Mis to me.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I'm so thankful to have you as a friend and, you know, sure, as a colleague. I remember when I found out you were a doctor and I was like, doctor. Oh my God, you're smart.
Girl.
And funny and fun. So it is amazing. I knew this was going to happen, but there's so much overlap between what we do. And so I'm really thankful that you are in the community and doing this service, for our community to support us and support me.
No. Well, I'm so honored to be on this podcast as well. I was so excited when you were like, hey, do you want to do this? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think there's so much overlap and, you know, in all types of therapy. And it's so important. It's all about, you know, finding the support system to better yourself and better your life and, you know, get everything you want out of what you got. And I just happen to have a really awesome friend to help get me there.
Gosh. So if people have like zoned out, like for this whole podcast, we've just kept them company. They feel a little bit less alone, just having our sweet voices in their ear. What is one thing that they can take away from today?
That's such a great question. I feel like we hit so many things.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, which is good, which is great. I would say, you know, making any type of progress is a really good way of putting that because, you know, whether that's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, carving out just a little speckle for you. I mean, that could literally be, you know, your 5 minutes walking around in your house to get your steps, you know, and also not waiting to get that help. Don't wait until it is, you know, the size of a planet of an issue or an injury to go seek somebody that can give you the support so that it's not, I think I used the balloon popping, you know, don't get to the point where that balloon is going to pop and you need surgery and now you got 6 more months of PT when it could have been something that less than 6 weeks could have covered. Yeah.
I see you snuck in 2 takeaways.
Mm-hmm. It's fine. I got a lot. It's fine.
Well, I hope to have you again on the podcast. I really appreciate. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Counselor Off the Clock. We will see you next time. We haven't actually figured out a way to end this, so
you need a jingle. And we're done with Counselor Off the Clock. Do not use that.
And we're clocking out, mother clockers.
That's it. We need that.
And we're done. You have to have the snaps.
Yes, we need the Beetlejuice, the ayo snaps in there.
If you are liking what you're hearing, please subscribe. We are a new podcast, and so liking, subscribing, and giving us a rating is actually so helpful. And tell your friends. Why not? You know, recommend us to the podcast. Until next time, we're Counselor Off the Clock.